She was sitting alone at the restaurant, waiting for a blind date who'd never show. Then two identical little girls slid into the booth across from her and said, "Sorry, our daddy's late." What the poor waitress didn't know, the father rushing through that door wasn't just late. He was the vampire king, and his daughters had already decided she was staying forever. Maya's feet were screaming. 6 hours of carrying trays, fake smiling at rude customers, and pretending the kitchen's burnt garlic smell didn't make her want to quit. All for a paycheck that wouldn't even cover this month's rent. But tonight was different. Tonight, she had a date. She glanced at her phone. 7:47 p.m. He was late. The restaurant, Moonstone Bistro, was winding down. Her manager had given her the corner booth as a favor, the one with the flickering candle and the view of the rain-soaked street. It was supposed to be romantic. Right now, it just felt lonely. Maya smoothed down her waitress apron. She hadn't had time to change. Her date, some guy named LV from the app, had suggested they meet here. She'd thought it was sweet. Now she wondered if he'd seen her working and bolted. Maybe he took one look and decided I wasn't worth it. She was about to grab her coat when she heard them. Two voices. Small. Confident. "Excuse me, are you Maya?" Maya turned. Two little girls stood beside her table. Identical. Maybe 6 or 7 years old. Pale skin, dark curls tied with velvet ribbons, and eyes so sharp they didn't belong on children. They wore matching navy dresses with white collars, like they'd stepped out of a painting from another century. Each held a leather-bound sketchbook. Maya blinked.
Yes.
The girl on the left smiled.
Good.
"We wanted to meet you first." The girl on the right pulled out a chair and sat down. "Daddy's late. He said we might like you." Maya's brain stalled.
I'm sorry, Daddy.
The first girl sat across from her sister, placing her sketchbook neatly on the table.
Yes.
"Our father. He's the one you're supposed to meet." Maya looked around the restaurant. A few lingering customers. Her coworker Jenny wiping down tables. No frantic parent rushing in. "Where is your father?" "He got held up," the second girl said calmly. "Something about a council meeting. Very boring." "He told us to come ahead," the first added. "To see if you were nice." Maya's mouth opened.
Closed.
Opened again. What kind of man sends his children to a blind date? "Okay," Maya said slowly, her waitress instincts kicking in. "Smile. Stay calm. Don't freak out the kids." "What are your names?" "I'm Celeste," said the girl on the left. "I'm Celine," said the girl on the right. "Celeste and Celine," Maya repeated. "Those are beautiful names." Celeste tilted her head. "You're prettier than the last one." Maya choked on air. "The last one?" "The tutor daddy tried to hire," Celine explained, flipping open her sketchbook. "She cried when we asked her about death." "We weren't even being morbid," Celeste added. "We just wanted to know if she believed in reincarnation." Maya stared at them. These children were not normal, but something about them tugged at her heart. They sat so still, so poised, like little adults playing dress-up. And their eyes, sharp as they were, held something else. Loneliness. Maya knew that look. She saw it in the mirror every morning. "Well," Maya said, leaning forward, "I don't cry easily. And I think reincarnation is fascinating." Celeste's eyes lit up. "Really? Really? I once read about a boy who remembered being a World War II pilot. He knew things he couldn't have known. It was strange. Beautiful, even." Celine set down her pencil. "You read?" "All the time. Can't afford much else." The twins exchanged a glance, some silent language only siblings shared. Celeste nudged her sketchbook toward Maya. "Do you draw?" Maya looked down. The page was covered in intricate ink sketches, forests, castles, wolves mid-leap. The detail was breathtaking, far beyond what a child should be capable of. "This is incredible," Maya whispered. "Celine's better," Celeste said matter-of-factly. Celine's drawing was even more haunting, a woman standing in a garden, her face turned toward the moon, surrounded by thorns and roses intertwined. You two are seriously talented. We have a lot of time to practice, Celine said quietly. Maya frowned. What do you mean? We don't go to school, Celeste said. We have tutors, but they don't stay long. Why not? The twins looked at each other again. They're afraid, Celine said simply. Of what? Before they could answer, the restaurant door opened. The sound of rain swelled, and then stopped, like the world had inhaled. Maya looked up. A man stood in the doorway.
Tall.
Broad-shouldered, dressed in a charcoal suit that fit him like it had been tailored by someone who understood power. His dark hair was brushed back, rain-slicked, and his face, sharp jaw, high cheekbones, looked like it belonged on a marble statue. But it was his eyes that stopped her.
Gray. Deep. Old.
Not old like tired. Old like he'd seen centuries and forgotten none of them. The few remaining customers glanced up and quickly looked away. The man's gaze swept the room and landed on their table. The twins gasped in unison. Daddy. They didn't run to him. They didn't shout. But their faces lit up in a way that made Maya's chest ache. The man walked toward them, his movements smooth, controlled. He didn't hurry, but he crossed the restaurant in seconds. He stopped at their table. Up close, he was even more unsettling. Not because he was frightening, but because he was too perfect. Like a painting that had stepped into reality and didn't quite belong. Girls, he said, his voice low and calm, with an accent Maya couldn't place. European, maybe. Old world. I told you to wait in the car. We wanted to meet her first, Celeste said unapologetically. You said we could decide, Celine added. The man's jaw tightened. Then he turned to Maya. I apologize. My daughters are persistent. Maya's brain was still catching up. You're LV. Lysander Vallon, he inclined his head, a gesture that felt strangely formal. And you are Maya Delgado. It wasn't a question.
Yeah.
Hi. She stood awkwardly, suddenly aware of her stained apron and her ponytail falling apart. I wasn't expecting. Children? A faint smile ghosted across his face. Neither was I, when they were born. Celeste giggled. Lysander looked at his daughters. Go to the car. I'll be there in a moment. But
Now.
it wasn't loud. It wasn't angry. But both girls immediately stood, grabbed their sketchbooks, and headed for the door. Before they left, Celine turned back. We like her, Daddy. Then they were gone. Maya stood there, heart pounding, as Lysander Vallon studied her with those impossible eyes. Miss Delgado, he said quietly, I realize this is unorthodox. That's one word for it. His lips twitched. Almost a smile. May I sit? Maya nodded. He sat across from her, and somehow the candlelight made him look even more unreal, shadows clinging to him like old friends. I'm not here for a date, he said. Maya's stomach dropped. Oh, I'm here to offer you a job. She blinked. A job. My daughters need someone. Not a tutor. Not a nanny. Someone who sees them as children, not obligations. He leaned forward slightly. You spoke to them for 10 minutes. They smiled more than they have in months. Maya's mouth went dry. I don't understand. I'm asking you to spend time with them. A few afternoons a week. I'll pay you well. Why me? Lysander's gaze didn't waver. Because when Celeste asked you about death, you didn't flinch. And when Celine showed you her drawing, you saw her, not just the skill. Maya's pulse hammered in her ears. Mr. Vallon, I'm just a waitress. I don't have experience with. I don't need experience. I need kindness, his voice softened. They've been alone for too long. Maya looked toward the door, where the twins had disappeared into the rain. Two little girls who drew like masters and spoke like they'd lived a dozen lifetimes. She should say no. This was weird. The whole thing screamed red flags. But then she thought about Celine's quiet voice. They're afraid. And Celeste's smile when Maya said she didn't cry easily. Okay, Maya heard herself say. Lysander's eyes widened. Just a fraction. Okay, I'll try. A few afternoons. We'll see how it goes. For the first time, Lysander Valen smiled. It was small, barely there, but it changed his entire face. Thank you, Miss Delgado. He stood, leaving a business card on the table. My driver will pick you up tomorrow. 4 p.m. Then he was gone, the door closing softly behind him. Maya stared at the card. Lysander Valen. No phone number. No address. Just a single embossed symbol, a crescent moon wrapped in thorns. Her hands were shaking. What did I just agree to? The black car that picked up Maya wasn't a car.
It was a statement.
Sleek, vintage, with windows tinted so dark she couldn't see inside. The driver, a silent man in a gray suit, opened the door without a word. Maya climbed in, her backpack feeling pathetic against the leather seats that probably cost more than her entire apartment. The twins sat across from her, seat belts on, sketchbooks in their laps.
Hey, Maya.
Celeste chirped. We're going home, Celine added. You like it? Maya tried to smile, but her stomach was doing flips. Where exactly is home? The estate, Celeste said, like that explained everything. They drove for 40 minutes, leaving the city behind. The road twisted through forests Maya didn't know existed, so close to town. The trees grew denser, older, their branches forming a canopy that blocked out the afternoon sun. Finally, they turned onto a private road. And Maya's breath caught. The estate rose from the landscape like something out of a dream, or a fairy tale that hadn't decided if it was light or dark yet. Stone walls covered in ivy. Tall windows with wrought iron frames. Turrets that touched the sky. It wasn't a haunted castle, it was too alive for that, but it wasn't normal either. Welcome home, Celine said softly. The car stopped at the front steps. Maya got out slowly, staring up at the massive wooden doors carved with symbols she didn't recognize.
Moons.
Stars. Creatures that might have been wolves or might have been something else. Come on. Celeste grabbed her hand, pulling her forward. Inside was even more breathtaking. The entrance hall had floors of polished black marble, a grand staircase that split in 2 directions, and chandeliers that looked like frozen starlight. Paintings lined the walls, old portraits of stern-looking people in clothing from centuries past. But what struck Maya most was the silence.
No te ve.
No music, just the soft echo of their footsteps. Girls. Maya jumped. Lysander stood at the top of the staircase. He'd changed from his suit into simpler clothes, a dark shirt, tailored pants, but he still looked like he belonged in a museum, not a home. He descended the stairs with that same fluid grace, his eyes fixed on Maya. Miss Delgado, thank you for coming. Maya's fine, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. And, you have a beautiful home. It's been in my family for generations. How many generations? Maya wanted to ask, but didn't. Lysander looked at his daughters. Show her the library. I'll join you shortly. The twins beamed and dragged Maya up the stairs. The library was massive. Floor-to-ceiling shelves packed with books, some leather-bound and ancient, others newer, but still carefully preserved. A fireplace crackled softly in a corner, even though it wasn't cold. Plush chairs and a window seat overlooked gardens that stretched into the forest. This is where we study, Celeste said, spinning in a circle. Do you like reading? Celine asked, watching Maya's face. I love it. Maya ran her fingers along the spines. I've never seen so many books in one place. You can borrow any of them, Celeste offered. Really? Daddy says books should be read, not trapped. Maya pulled out a worn copy of Jane Eyre. This was my favorite when I was younger. It's sad, Celine said quietly. But she finds happiness in the end, Maya countered. After suffering, Maya knelt down to the twins' level. Sometimes the best things come after the hard parts. That's what makes them matter. Celine stared at her, something unreadable in those 2 old eyes. Then she smiled, small but real. The door opened. Lysander entered, carrying a tea tray. He set it on the low table between the chairs, porcelain cups, delicate pastries, and a pot that smelled like bergamot and night-blooming flowers. "I thought we could talk," he said, pouring tea with practiced elegance. "Properly this time." Maya sat, accepting a cup. The twins settled on either side of her like bookends. Lysander took the chair across from them, and for a moment, they looked like a family. "I should explain," he began, his voice measured, "about what I'm asking of you. You said you wanted someone to spend time with the girls.
Yes.
But you should understand why." He glanced at his daughters, something painful flickering across his face. "Their mother died when they were 3. Since then, it's been tutors, guards, distant relatives. No one who stayed. No one who wanted to stay." Maya's chest tightened. Why didn't they stay? Lysander was quiet for a long moment. "My family is unusual.
Old.
Private. We have traditions that outsiders find unsettling." "Like what?" "Like the fact that we don't lie," Celeste said suddenly. "Most people don't like that." "We're too honest," Celine added. "We ask the wrong questions." "You ask real questions," Maya corrected gently. "That's different." Lysander's eyes fixed on her with new intensity. "Miss Delgado, Maya, I need you to understand something. This world I'm inviting you into is complicated. There are expectations, rules, people who won't approve of you being here." "Why not?" "Because you're an outsider. Because you're—" He hesitated. "Different from us." Maya set down her teacup. "Mr. Vallon, I grew up in foster care. I've been the outsider my whole life. If your family doesn't like me because I'm poor or because I don't come from some fancy bloodline, that's their problem, not mine." Silence. Then Celeste laughed, a bright, genuine sound that filled the library like bells. "See, Daddy? We told you she was brave." Lysander's expression softened into something almost like wonder. "Yes," he murmured. "You did." He stood, extending his hand. "Then welcome, Maya Delgado. Officially." Maya shook his hand. His grip was cool, firm, and sent a shiver straight up her arm. For just a second, his eyes flashed, not gray, but something else. Something that reflected the firelight like an animal's. Then it was gone. "The girls will show you around," Lysander said, releasing her hand. "I have matters to attend to." "But Maya?" "Yes. Thank you. Truly." He left, the door closing softly behind him. Maya exhaled, her heart racing. Celeste tugged her sleeve. "Want to see our room? It has a telescope," Celine added. Maya smiled, pushing down the strange fear curling in her stomach. "Lead the way." But as they climbed another staircase, Maya couldn't shake one thought. What kind of family needs guards? 3 weeks passed like a dream. Maya came every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. She read with the twins, helped them with their art, played chess, which they always won, and listened to their strange, wonderful questions about life and death and everything between. The estate felt less haunted each visit, more like a home that had forgotten how to be one. But she still hadn't seen Lysander much. He appeared briefly, a nod in the hallway, a quiet thank you before vanishing into parts of the estate she wasn't allowed to enter. The east wing was off-limits. So was the lower level. Maya didn't ask why. She told herself it didn't matter. She was here for the girls. But tonight, everything changed. Maya was leaving late. The twins had begged her to stay for dinner, and she'd agreed. Now it was past 9, and the driver was waiting. She stepped outside into cool evening air and found Lysander standing in the garden, staring up at the sky. He didn't turn, but he spoke. "The stars are different here, away from the city lights." Maya hesitated, then walked closer. "They're beautiful. My daughters talk about you constantly. They're easy to love." Lysander finally looked at her, and in the moonlight, his features looked carved from marble. "You've done more for them in 3 weeks than anyone has in 3 years." Maya's cheeks warmed. I'm just myself. That's precisely why it works, he paused. Maya, I need to be honest with you. About who we are. Her stomach dropped. Okay. Walk with me? They moved through the garden, past rose bushes and stone benches, until they reached a fountain. A woman pouring water from an urn, frozen in bronze. Lysander stopped. My family has lived on this land for over 500 years. Maya's breath caught. That's a long time. Longer than most remember. We've been lords, protectors, keepers of old traditions, he turned to her. We're not like other families, Maya. We live differently. Age differently. What do you mean? Thunder rumbled in the distance. I mean, Lysander said carefully, that I am not entirely human. The world seemed to tilt. Maya laughed nervously. You're joking. I'm not. Rain began to fall, soft at first, then harder. Lysander didn't move. Neither did Maya. I am what your stories call a vampire, he said quietly. As are my daughters. As was my wife. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs.
No.
Vampires aren't real. We are. We've simply learned to hide better than your myths suggest. This is insane. Yes. The rain soaked through Maya's jacket. She should run. Call someone. But her feet wouldn't move. The twins, she whispered. They're just children.
They are.
And they will be for many years. Our kind ages slowly. Celeste and Celine may look 7, but they've lived that way for nearly a decade. His voice cracked slightly. They've watched every tutor grow uncomfortable. Every guard request a transfer. Everyone leaves once they sense the truth. You drink blood. Yes. Maya's hands shook. Have you ever? Never from someone unwilling. Never to harm. Lysander stepped closer, rain streaming down his face. I rule a kingdom, Maya. A hidden one. Vampires, old families, creatures your world has forgotten. I keep the peace. I protect both our kind and yours from each other. Why are you telling me this? Because my daughters love you. Because I can't bear to watch them lose someone else, his gray eyes burned into hers. And because I won't lie to you. Lightning split the sky. Maya's mind raced. The strange hours. The off-limit rooms. The way servants appeared and disappeared like shadows. The portraits of people who looked exactly like Lysander in clothing from different centuries. It was impossible. It was true. I should go, Maya breathed. Yes, Lysander didn't move to stop her. My driver will take you home. You don't have to come back. I'll pay you for the full month regardless. Just like that. I won't trap you here with fear. You deserve the choice. Maya turned toward the house and stopped. Through a window, she could see the library. The twins sat in the window seat, faces pressed to the glass, watching the storm. Watching her. Even from here, she could see their expressions. Hopeful. Terrified. Waiting to be abandoned again. Maya closed her eyes. She thought of her own childhood. Moving from foster home to foster home. Never belonging. Never wanted for long. She thought of Celeste's laugh when Maya made a terrible pun. She thought of Celine's quiet voice. You're different from the others. You don't look at us like we're strange. Your daughters, Maya said slowly, turning back to Lysander. They're not monsters.
No.
They're just kids who've been alone too long. Yes. And you. She met his eyes. Are you a monster? Lysander's jaw tightened. I've lived a long time. I've done things I regret. But I've spent the last decade trying to build a world where my daughters don't have to hide what they are, his voice dropped. So you tell me. The rain poured between them. Maya thought of every warning sign, every rational reason to run. Then she thought of 2 little girls who drew pictures and asked impossible questions and just wanted someone to stay. I need you to promise me something, Maya said. Anything. You never lie to me again. About anything. You have my word. And if I stay, if I do this, the girl's safety comes first. Before politics. Before your kingdom. Before everything. Lysander's expression shifted into something fierce. 'Always.' expression shifted into something fierce. 'Always.' Maya exhaled shakily. 'Then I'm not going anywhere.' For a long moment, Lysander just stared at her. Then he smiled, real and devastating and grateful. 'You're extraordinary, Maya Delgado.'
'I'm terrified.' 'Good.
That means you're paying attention.' He gestured toward the house.
'Come.'
'You're soaked. We'll get you dry clothes and proper tea. Then, if you're willing, I'll answer every question you have.' They walked back through the rain. And Maya realized, with a strange sense of certainty, that her life would never be ordinary again. She was surprisingly okay with that. Maya's first full day at the estate began at dawn. She'd stayed the night, her clothes still drying, and the twins had insisted. Now she stood at her bedroom window, watching the sun rise over forests that seemed to stretch forever. A soft knock at the door. 'Come in,' Maya called. Celeste and Celine entered, already dressed in matching burgundy dresses, their hair braided identically. 'Good morning.' Celeste bounded over. 'We made you breakfast.' 'Well, the cook made it,' Celine corrected. 'We supervised.' Maya smiled, her heart warming. 'You didn't have to do that.' 'We wanted to.' Celine took her hand.
'Come on.
We'll show you the real castle today.' The estate was bigger than Maya had imagined. They passed through halls lined with tapestries showing battles between creatures she didn't recognize. They climbed spiral staircases that seemed to go on forever. They explored rooms filled with antiques, libraries stacked with books in languages Maya couldn't read, and a conservatory where night-blooming flowers grew despite the morning sun. 'This is the music room,' Celeste announced, opening double doors. Inside sat a grand piano, a harp, and instruments Maya had only seen in museums. 'Do you play?' Maya asked. 'Mama did,' Celine said quietly. 'We're learning.' Slowly, Maya walked to the piano, running her fingers over the keys. She pressed one, a clear, perfect note that echoed through the room. 'Do you play?' Celeste asked hopefully. 'A little. My foster mom, one of the good ones, taught me before I aged out.' Maya sat on the bench. 'Want to hear something?' Both girls nodded eagerly. Maya played a simple melody, Clair de Lune, the only piece she remembered fully. Her fingers stumbled in places, but the music still filled the room with something gentle and sad and beautiful. When she finished, the twins were staring at her with shining eyes. 'That was Mama's favorite,' Celine whispered. Maya's throat tightened.
'I'm sorry.'
'I didn't know.' 'Don't be sorry.' Celeste climbed onto the bench beside her. It was perfect. They sat in silence for a moment, the three of them, sharing something that didn't need words. Then footsteps echoed in the hallway. A woman appeared in the doorway, tall, elegant, with silver-streaked black hair and eyes like cut glass. She wore a black dress that looked both modern and timeless. 'So,' the woman said coolly, 'this is the human.' Maya stood instinctively.
'I'm Maya.'
'I know who you are.' The woman's gaze swept over her, assessing. 'I am Adrian, head of the household staff. I've served the Vallon family for 2 centuries. 2 centuries. Maya forced herself not to react. 'Nice to meet you.' 'We'll see.' Adrienne's attention shifted to the twins. 'Your lessons begin in 20 minutes. Don't be late.' 'Yes, Adrian,' the girls chorused. The woman left without another word. Celeste leaned close to Maya. 'Don't worry. She's mean to everyone at first.' 'She was mean to Daddy for 50 years, Celine added. 'What changed?' Maya asked. 'He saved her life,' Celine shrugged. 'Now she's only mean sometimes.' The rest of the morning was a blur. Maya watched the twins' lessons, history taught by a stern vampire who looked barely older than Maya but spoke about ancient Rome like he'd been there. Mathematics with a patient woman who solved equations in her head faster than Maya could write them down. Between lessons, servants passed through the halls. Some nodded politely. Others stared with open suspicion. One older vampire, a man with scars across his face, actually hissed when Maya walked by. 'Ignore Christophe, Celeste muttered. He hates everyone who isn't vampire nobility. Why? Maya asked. Because he thinks humans are weak. Are we? Celine looked at her seriously. You're standing in a castle full of vampires, and you haven't run away. That's not weak. Maya squeezed her hand. Thanks, kiddo. After lunch, the twins took Maya to their favorite place, the tower. They climbed narrow stone stairs until Maya's legs burned. Finally, they emerged onto a circular room with windows on all sides and a massive telescope in the center. This is our hideout, Celeste explained, plopping onto a pile of cushions. When things get scary, we come here, Celine added. Maya joined them, looking out at the view. From here, she could see the entire estate. The gardens, the forest, the high walls that surrounded everything. What gets scary? Maya asked gently. The twins exchanged that look again. The silent conversation. The nobles, Celeste finally said. They come for meetings. They argue with Daddy. About what? About how he rules. About the old ways versus new ways. Celine hugged her knees.
About us.
Maya's protective instincts flared. What about you? They don't think Daddy should raise us himself. They think we should go to a vampire academy. Learn to be proper. But Daddy won't let them take us, Celeste said fiercely. Because he loves you, Maya said. Yes, Celine's voice was small. But sometimes love isn't enough. Not when you're a king. Maya pulled both girls close. Listen to me. Your father would move mountains before he let anyone take you away. Trust me. How do you know? Celeste asked. Because I see how he looks at you, like you're his whole world. The twins melted into her embrace. They sat like that, watching the sun move across the sky until footsteps sounded on the stairs. Lysander appeared, slightly out of breath, which surprised Maya, given vampires didn't really need to breathe. There you are, he said. I've been looking everywhere. We were showing Maya our tower, Celine said. Lysander's eyes met Maya's across the room. Something passed between them, understanding maybe, gratitude. It's a good place, he said quietly. Safe. Daddy, can Maya stay for dinner again? Celeste asked. If she'd like. Maya smiled. I'd love to. That evening, as Maya walked through the halls toward the dining room, she passed an open doorway. Inside, 3 vampires stood in shadows, their voices low but urgent. Too close to the heirs. A human, of all things. The king has gone soft. Maya's blood ran cold. She hurried past, heart pounding. Behind her, she felt eyes watching. And for the first time since arriving, Maya wondered if Lysander's world was more dangerous than she'd realized. Not from what they were, but from who opposed them. 2 weeks later, Maya convinced Lysander to let her take the twins into town. They need to see normal life, Maya argued over breakfast. Books and lessons are great, but they should experience the world. Lysander looked uncomfortable. The world isn't always kind to my daughters. Then I'll be there to show them it can be. Celeste and Celine watched the exchange like a tennis match, hope blazing in their eyes. Finally, Lysander sighed.
Fine.
But Marcus goes with you. Marcus was the head of security, a broad-shouldered vampire with kind eyes and reflexes that could stop a bullet. Literally, Maya had seen him catch a falling vase without even looking. Deal, Maya agreed. The twins cheered. The market town of Thornfield was charming. Cobblestone streets, flower boxes in windows, and a Saturday market that smelled like fresh bread and honey. Maya held both girls' hands as they walked through the stalls. Marcus followed at a distance, trying to look casual in his dark suit. Look, Celeste pointed at a stall selling handmade jewelry. Can we see? Of course. The vendor, an elderly woman with laugh lines, smiled warmly. Well, aren't you two precious? Twins. Yes, ma'am, Celine said politely. And so well-mannered. Your mother must be proud. Maya's chest tightened. I'm just a friend. But yes, they're wonderful. The woman showed them necklaces with tiny charms, moons, stars, wolves. The twins were mesmerized. Maya bought them each one. The moon for Celeste. The star for Celine. Thank you, Maya. They hugged her simultaneously. For a moment, everything was perfect. Then Maya noticed the stairs. A man at the vegetable stall had stopped mid-transaction, watching them. A woman whispered to her companion, her eyes fixed on the twins. More people were turning, their expressions shifting from curiosity to something darker. Recognition. We should go, Marcus said quietly, appearing at Maya's side.
Why? Celeste asked.
We just got here. Just a precaution, Maya said, forcing a smile. Let's get some pastries first, okay? They headed toward the bakery, but a crowd had gathered. 20 people, maybe more, blocking the street. A man stepped forward, middle-aged, with a red face and anger in his eyes. Those are his children, he spat. The Vampire King's monsters. Maya's blood turned to ice. The twins froze, their hands squeezing hers painfully tight. They're just children, Maya said firmly. They're vampires, a woman shouted. They don't belong here. My daughter went missing last year, another man yelled. How do we know they didn't? That's enough, Marcus stepped forward, his voice deadly calm. The children are under the king's protection. The king, someone spat. He hides in his castle while we live in fear. The crowd pressed closer. Maya felt the twins trembling. Celeste's face had gone pale. Celine looked like she might cry. Something fierce ignited in Maya's chest. She stepped in front of the girls, spreading her arms. You want to scare children? Maya's voice rang out, sharp and clear. 2 little girls who came to buy jewelry and eat pastries? What does that make you? They're not children, the red-faced man snarled. They're 7 years old. They like to draw and read books and ask questions about the stars. Maya's hands shook, but her voice didn't. When's the last time any of you actually met a vampire? Or do you just enjoy terrorizing kids? Miss, move aside, Marcus warned.
Now.
The crowd surged forward, and Lysander appeared. One moment the street was empty behind them. The next, he stood there, perfectly still, his eyes blazing with cold fury. The crowd stumbled back. Lysander didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. You will step away from my daughters. It wasn't a request. The temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Shadows lengthened. Several people actually whimpered. Now, Lysander added, and the word carried weight like a physical force. The crowd scattered like leaves in a storm. Within seconds, the street was empty. Lysander's eyes swept over the twins, checking for injuries. Then he looked at Maya, and something flickered in his expression, surprise mixed with something deeper. You stood in front of them. Of course I did. I was coming to intervene. And I beat you to it. Maya's adrenaline was crashing, making her bold. These girls deserved a normal afternoon. They deserved to feel safe. And those people were afraid, Lysander said quietly. So? Fear doesn't excuse cruelty. Lysander stared at her for a long moment. Then he knelt before his daughters. Are you hurt?
No, Daddy, Celeste whispered.
Maya protected us. She yelled at them, Celine added, a hint of awe in her voice. I heard. Lysander touched each girl's cheek gently. Marcus, take them to the car. I'll be there shortly. The twins hugged Maya quickly before leaving with Marcus. Then it was just the 2 of them in the empty street. You shouldn't have done that, Lysander said. Someone had to. You could have been hurt. So could your daughters. Maya met his eyes. You can be angry at me, but I won't apologize for protecting them. I'm not angry, Lysander's voice was rough.
He
didn't finish. Instead, he did something unexpected. He stepped forward and pulled Maya into an embrace. It was brief, careful, like he was afraid he might break her. Thank you, he murmured against her hair. No one has ever.
He stopped.
Stepped back. His mask of control slipped back into place, but his eyes were still burning. We should go. It's not safe here. Lysander. I know what you're going to say. That they deserve better. That the world should accept them. His jaw tightened. But the world is cruel, Maya. Especially to those who are different. Then we teach them to be braver than the cruelty, Maya said. We don't hide them away. And if hiding them is the only way to keep them alive, is it really living? The question hung between them. Finally, Lysander nodded slowly. Perhaps you're right. Perhaps I've been too cautious. Or perhaps you've been a good father trying to protect his kids. There's no shame in that. Something in his expression softened. You see the best in people, Maya Delgado. Even in me. Especially in you. They walked back to the car in silence. But as they drove away, Maya looked back at the town square. A figure stood in the shadows, the red-faced man from the crowd. He was watching them leave. And he was on his phone. Maya's stomach twisted. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The council chamber was a room Maya had never seen before. Deep beneath the estate, carved from ancient stone, with a circular table of black marble and 13 high-backed chairs. Torches burned in iron sconces, casting dancing shadows on walls etched with symbols that seemed to move when Maya wasn't looking directly at them. She wasn't supposed to be here. But Lysander had insisted. If they're going to discuss you, he'd said that morning, you deserve to hear it. Now Maya stood behind Lysander's chair, the tallest, positioned at the head of the table, while 12 vampire nobles filed in.
They were terrifying.
Not because they looked monstrous. Most appeared elegant, refined, ancient. But their eyes held centuries of power, schemes, and survival. They assessed Maya like she was an insect that had wandered into their midst. The last to enter was a woman who made the others look young. Her hair was white as bone, her skin translucent, and she moved like smoke given form. Lady Morgan, Lysander greeted with a slight nod. Your Majesty, her voice was silk over steel. She took her seat directly across from him, her pale eyes fixing on Maya. I see the rumors are true. The human is indeed here. Miss Delgado is under my protection, Lysander said calmly. She stays. Murmurs rippled around the table. A broad man with a scarred face, Christoph, the one who'd hissed at Maya before, leaned forward. This is a closed council, Your Majesty.
No outsiders.
She's hardly an outsider. She cares for my daughters. Exactly our concern, Lady Morgan said smoothly. Which is why we've called this session. Lysander's expression didn't change, but Maya felt the temperature drop. Continue. Lady Morgan folded her hands. In the 3 months since Miss Delgado entered your household, there have been incidents. The market confrontation. Whispers among the human population. Questions about why a human has such intimate access to the royal heirs. Maya was protecting my daughters from an angry mob, Lysander said, his voice deadly quiet.
Yes.
Very heroic. Lady Morgan's smile was thin. But it attracted attention. Attention we cannot afford. Our survival depends on remaining hidden, on maintaining the delicate balance between our world and theirs. A younger noble, a woman with copper hair, spoke up. There's also the matter of influence, Your Majesty. Miss Delgado spends hours with the princesses. She teaches them, guides them. What happens when her human values conflict with vampire traditions? My daughters are learning compassion, Lysander said. I see no conflict. Compassion is a luxury, Christoph growled. Survival requires strength. The old ways. The old ways included feeding on humans like cattle, Lysander interrupted, his eyes flashing. Is that what you're advocating? Silence. Your Majesty, Lady Morgan said carefully, no one questions your devotion to your daughters. But you must see reason. A human cannot understand our ways. She cannot protect the girls from our enemies. She is, forgive my bluntness, a liability. She stood between my daughters and violence, Lysander said. Most of you would have watched from the shadows. The insult landed like a blade. Kristoff shot to his feet. We have served this kingdom for centuries.
Seat.
Down, Lysander didn't raise his voice, but the command in it was absolute. Kristoff sat, fury radiating from him. Lady Morgan continued as if nothing had happened. We're asking you to consider what's best for the realm. For the future. Your daughters will one day need to navigate vampire politics, forge alliances with the old families. They need proper guidance.
They have it, Lysander said.
From a waitress? Kristoff spat. Maya's hands clenched behind her back, but she kept silent. Lysander had warned her. Let me handle this. Don't react. Miss Delgado's profession is irrelevant, Lysander said. Her character is not. Lady Morgan leaned forward. Then let me be direct, Your Majesty. We are formally requesting that you dismiss the human from her position. Immediately, the room went deadly still. You're requesting? Lysander's tone could have frozen fire. We represent the 12 great houses. Our concerns carry weight. Your concerns are noted. Lysander stood slowly, and every vampire in the room seemed to shrink slightly. But you seem to have forgotten something. I am not your servant. I am your king. Your Majesty. My daughters have laughed more in the past 3 months than in the past 3 years. They sleep through the night without nightmares. They ask questions about the world instead of hiding from it. His voice was razor-sharp. Miss Delgado has given them something none of you ever could. And what is that? Lady Morgan asked. Hope. The word echoed in the chamber. So here is my answer to your request, Lysander continued.
No.
Maya stays. She is part of my household, and anyone who threatens her threatens the crown. You would risk political instability, Lady Morgan said. For a human? I would risk everything for my daughter's happiness. Kristoff slammed his fist on the table. This is madness. She's clouded your judgment. Careful, Lysander said softly. You're speaking about someone I value. Choose your next words wisely. The threat was unmistakable. Kristoff's jaw worked, but he stayed silent. Lady Morgan stood gracefully. Very well, Your Majesty. We have expressed our concerns. But understand, if the human's presence causes problems, if she attracts the wrong attention or endangers the secrecy we've maintained for centuries, the Council will act. Is that a threat? It's a promise to protect the realm. As is our duty, she inclined her head. We hope it won't come to that. The nobles filed out one by one, their expressions ranging from fury to calculation. When the door closed behind the last of them, Lysander exhaled. Well, he said quietly, that went better than expected. Maya stared at him. Better? No one challenged me to single combat, he turned to her, and she saw the exhaustion in his eyes. They'll scheme now. Plot. But they won't move openly. Not yet. Lysander, I don't want to cause you problems. You heard what I said in there. Every word was true. He stepped closer. You've given my daughters something I couldn't. I won't abandon that because politics are messy. What if Lady Morgan is right? What if I am a liability? Then you're a liability I choose willingly, his hand lifted, almost touching her face, before he caught himself and dropped it. You're braver than most vampires I know, Maya Delgado. Don't let them make you doubt that. Maya's heart hammered. What do we do now? We're careful. We watch. And we trust that my enemies are smart enough not to move against someone under royal protection. But even as he said it, Maya saw the worry in his eyes. They both knew the truth. Politics didn't care about right or wrong. Only power. And Maya had just become a piece on a very dangerous board. The twins' playroom smelled like lavender and old books. Maya sat on the carpet, helping Celine arrange her collection of pressed flowers while Celeste worked on a new drawing, a garden at twilight, rendered in stunning detail. Maya, Celeste said without looking up, do you think people can change? I think people can choose to be better, Maya answered carefully.
Why?
Some of the nobles are angry at you. Maya's stomach tightened. I know, sweetheart, but you're not leaving? Not unless you want me to. Both girls looked at her with those two old eyes. Never, Celine whispered. Then I'm staying, Maya smiled. Now, who wants tea? There was a silver tea set on the side table, child-sized cups and a porcelain pot painted with night-blooming roses. Maya poured, the familiar ritual soothing. She handed Celeste her cup first. The little girl reached for it, then froze. Her nostrils flared. Her eyes went wide. Celeste? Maya asked. Celeste's hand shot out, knocking the cup from Maya's grip. It shattered on the floor, tea spreading like blood across the carpet. Don't drink it, Celeste gasped. Celine scrambled back from her own cup, face pale. Maya's heart stopped. What's wrong? Nightshade, Celine breathed. And belladonna. I can smell it. That's impossible. Maya stared at the tea service. She'd prepared it herself from the pot that was always in the playroom, the one specifically for the girls. Someone had poisoned it. Someone had poisoned children. The door burst open. Lysander stood there, Marcus behind him, both looking frantic. Out, Lysander commanded. Everyone out.
Now.
Marcus swept the twins into his arms and carried them from the room. Maya stood frozen, staring at the spilled tea. Lysander grabbed her shoulders. Did you drink any?
No.
Celeste stopped me. He exhaled, then pulled her against him. Hard, desperate. Thank the ancients. Lysander, someone tried to kill them. I know. His voice was shaking. I know. He released her and turned to the tea service, his expression transforming into something Maya had never seen before.
Rage.
Pure, ancient, terrifying rage. His eyes shifted, no longer gray, but burning red. His fangs descended. The shadows in the room seemed to writhe and lengthen, responding to him. This wasn't the careful father or the measured king. This was the vampire who had ruled for centuries. Whoever did this, he said, his voice inhuman echoing, will not see another sunset. Within an hour, the entire household was assembled in the great hall. Every servant, every guard, every vampire who called the estate home. 30 people, standing in rigid lines, while Lysander paced before them like a caged predator. Maya stood with the twins, both girls clutching her hands. They were safe. Marcus had checked them, a doctor had examined them. But they were terrified. Someone, Lysander said, his voice cutting through the silence, entered my daughter's playroom. Someone placed poison in their tea. Someone attempted to murder the heirs to my throne. No one moved. That person is in this room. Still silence. Lysander stopped pacing. I will give you one chance.
One.
Confess now, and your death will be quick. Nothing. Very well. He nodded to Marcus, who stepped forward with a small vial. This is blessed silver dust, Marcus explained. Harmless to the innocent. Agonizing to those who've committed acts of betrayal against the crown. He began walking down the line, sprinkling a pinch on each person's hand. Most didn't react. A few winced, old crimes, Maya guessed, but not this one. Then Marcus reached a young woman in a servant's uniform. She couldn't have been more than 20 in appearance, with auburn hair and downcast eyes. The dust touched her skin. She screamed. Her hand blistered instantly, smoke rising from the contact. She fell to her knees, sobbing. No, I didn't mean. They said they'd only get sick, they promised. Lysander was in front of her in an instant. Who? I can't. They'll kill my family. Who? The girl wept. Lady Morgan. She said. She said the human was dangerous. That the girls were being corrupted. She said they'd just get sick, that it would prove the human couldn't protect them. You poisoned children, Lysander hissed. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry.
Guards.
Take her to the cells. His voice was empty of emotion. She'll stand trial at dawn. As the girl was dragged away, still sobbing, Lysander addressed the room. Lady Morgan has committed treason. Any who serve her, any who knew of this plot, will face the same judgment. You have until dawn to come forward. He dismissed them with a wave. The hall emptied quickly, everyone desperate to escape his presence. Finally, only Maya, the twins, and Marcus remained. Lysander turned to them, and his mask cracked. He dropped to his knees and pulled his daughters into his arms, holding them like he'd never let go. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry. I should have protected you better." "You did protect us," Celeste said. "Maya did too." "She smelled it first," Celine added. Lysander looked at Maya over his daughters' heads. His eyes were still red, but now they held something else. Devastation, gratitude, and something deeper that made Maya's breath catch. "You saved them," he said hoarsely. "Celeste saved us," Maya corrected. "I would have drunk it, but you were there. You stayed when everyone warned you to leave." "You." His voice broke. Gently, Maya knelt beside them, completing the circle. "We're all okay," she said softly. "That's what matters." "Lady Morgan will answer for this," Lysander said, his voice hardening again. "I'll call the full council. She'll face justice." "What about the girl?" "The servant. She tried to murder my children. She was manipulated. Threatened." Lysander's jaw tightened. "You're asking me to show mercy. I'm asking you to remember that fear makes people do terrible things. She deserves punishment, but maybe not death." He stared at her. "You're too good for this world, Maya Delgado. Or maybe the world needs more goodness." The twins had fallen asleep against him, exhausted from fear and relief. Lysander carried Celeste. Marcus carried Celine. Maya followed them to the girls' bedroom, where they tucked them in together. Outside in the hallway, Lysander caught Maya's hand. "Stay tonight."
Please.
He swallowed. "I can't bear the thought of you leaving. Not after almost losing." "I'll stay," Maya said. He nodded, still holding her hand. "Maya?" "Yes. When this is over, when Lady Morgan is dealt with, there's something I need to tell you." His thumb traced circles on her palm, sending shivers up her arm. "What?" she whispered. But he just shook his head.
After.
"When my daughters are truly safe. Then." He left her at her bedroom door with one last look, intense, longing, conflicted. Maya closed the door and leaned against it, her heart racing. She'd almost lost them tonight. The girls. This strange, impossible family she'd stumbled into. And Lysander. She couldn't finish the thought. Because somewhere between protecting his daughters and standing against nobles and choosing to stay in a world of shadows, Maya had done something foolish. She'd fallen in love with a vampire king. Dawn broke cold and silver over the estate. Maya stood on her bedroom balcony, wrapped in a borrowed robe, watching the sun paint the sky in shades of gold and pink. Behind her, the castle was stirring, guards changing shifts, servants preparing for the emergency council session Lysander had called. Lady Morgan would face judgment today. But Maya couldn't stop thinking about what came after. A soft knock at the door.
"Come in," she called.
Lysander entered, and Maya's breath caught. He looked exhausted, shadows under his eyes, his usual perfect composure frayed at the edges. But his gaze, when it found her, was steady. "You should be sleeping," Maya said. "So should you." He joined her on the balcony, keeping a careful distance between them. "The trial is in 2 hours. Lady Morgan has already been taken into custody. She's not denying it. She claims she was protecting the realm from human corruption." "From me?" "Yes." Maya gripped the railing. "What will happen to her?" "Exile, most likely. She's too old, too connected to execute without starting a civil war. But she'll lose her titles, her lands, her seat on the council." His jaw tightened. "She'll live, but she'll have nothing." "And the servant girl?" 10 years indentured service. "She'll work off her debt to the crown, but she'll live." Maya looked at him in surprise. "You showed mercy. You asked me to remember what fear makes people do." His voice was soft. "So, I remembered." They stood in silence, watching the sun climb higher. "Maya," Lysander said finally, I need to offer you something. Her heart began to race. After the trial, things will calm. But they won't be safe. Not truly. Lady Morgan had supporters. Others will scheme in her place. Being part of my household means being part of that danger. He turned to face her fully. So, I'm giving you a choice. What choice?
Leave.
Tonight, if you wish. I'll set you up with enough money that you'll never have to work again. A house anywhere you want. Protection for life. You'll be safe, comfortable, free. Maya's throat tightened. And the girls? They'll understand. I'll make sure of it. Will they? Lysander's composure cracked.
No.
They'll be devastated. But they'll survive. They've survived worse. And you? The question escaped before Maya could stop it. Lysander was quiet for a long moment. I'll survive too, he said, but his voice was hollow. I've survived everything else. Maya studied his face, the ancient eyes, the careful mask, the loneliness he carried like armor. What's the other option? She whispered. You stay. He stepped closer, and Maya could feel the cold radiating from him. Not unpleasant, just different. You stay, knowing this world will never be simple. Knowing there will always be politics, danger, people who want to use you or hurt you to get to me. Knowing that my daughters will need you, and that need comes with a crown's weight of responsibility. That's not much of a choice. No, his hand lifted, hesitating near her face. But there's one more thing you should know before you decide. What? I've fallen in love with you, Maya Delgado. The world stopped. Somewhere between watching you protect my daughters and standing up to nobles and choosing to stay when anyone with sense would run, I fell. His voice was raw, unguarded. I didn't mean to.
I didn't want to.
I told myself it was impossible. But here we are. Maya couldn't breathe. I'm not asking you to love me back, Lysander continued quickly. That's not why I'm telling you. I'm telling you because you deserve the truth. All of it. If you stay, you need to know that I will protect you with everything I have, not just because you care for my daughters, but because I... Maya kissed him. She didn't plan it, didn't think. She just reached up and pulled him down and pressed her lips to his. He froze for a heartbeat. Then his arms came around her, careful but desperate, and he kissed her back like she was air and he'd been drowning. When they finally broke apart, both were shaking. I'm staying, Maya said. Maya, not for you. Not yet. I need time for that. She touched his face, feeling the coolness of his skin. I'm staying for Celeste and Celine.
Because they need me.
Because they asked me to stay, and I've never had anyone need me before, not really. That's enough, Lysander said hoarsely. That's more than enough. But maybe, Maya smiled tremulously. Maybe eventually, I'll be staying for you too. His eyes blazed. I can wait. I'm very good at waiting. How good? I've waited centuries for many things. I can wait for you to love me. He kissed her forehead gently. However long it takes. The balcony door burst open. Celeste and Celine tumbled out, still in their nightgowns, both grinning. We heard, Celeste announced. You were supposed to be sleeping, Lysander said, but he was smiling. We heard Maya say she's staying. Celine ran to Maya, wrapping her arms around her waist. You're really staying? Really, Maya confirmed. Celeste joined the embrace. Forever? Maya looked at Lysander over their heads. He was watching them with an expression of such profound love and relief that it made her chest ache. Yeah, Maya said softly. Forever. 3 months later, the garden had become Maya's favorite place. She sat on the stone bench, reading while the twins played nearby, Celeste practicing violin under the maple tree, Celine painting the roses that bloomed despite the approaching autumn. Footsteps on the gravel path. Lysander appeared, carrying a leather folder. The council voted, he announced. Unanimously. Maya set down her book. And you're officially the royal wardkeeper. A new title, created specifically for you, he smiled. You'll have a salary, a formal position, and legal protection under Crown law. No one can threaten you without committing treason.
That's... wow.
There's more. He sat beside her, his thigh pressing against hers. They want you to attend council meetings. As an advisor. They hated me 3 months ago. Then you saved the heirs, showed mercy to a traitor, and proved you're more politically savvy than half the nobles combined. His hand found hers. They respect you now. Fear you a little. Good, Maya said and meant it. Lysander laughed, a real, genuine sound that still surprised her every time. I love you, he said suddenly. Maya's heart skipped. She turned to face him fully. I love you too, she said. His eyes widened. You.
Ida.
I didn't mean for it to happen, but I fell somewhere between your daughter's laughter and your terrible poetry and the way you look at me like I'm precious. You are precious, he cupped her face. You're everything. He kissed her, slow and sweet and full of promise. Finally, Celeste shouted from the tree. We've been waiting, Celine added. Maya and Lysander broke apart, laughing. They're never going to let us forget this, Maya said. No, Lysander agreed. They're absolutely insufferable. We can hear you, both girls chorused. Maya leaned against Lysander's shoulder, watching the twins return to their art, the afternoon sun warm on her face. She'd come here for a blind date. She'd stayed for 2 lonely girls. And somehow, impossibly, she'd found a family. Not a normal one, not an easy one, but hers. Maya? Lysander murmured against her hair. Thank you for choosing us. She smiled. Thank you for being worth choosing. The violin music swelled. The painting took shape. The roses bloomed in impossible colors. And in the garden of a vampire king's castle, a poor waitress who'd waited for a blind date that never came finally found where she belonged.